Cozy Here With You by miloqu, Chapter 10. Hold Me in the Ocean. No one's point of view. The sun was beating down through the open window of Katsuki's room, the wind gently flowing through his hair. Beep, beep, beep. Katsuki's eyes opened slowly. He laid on his front, his left side facing his pillow. His legs were slightly parted, and he was laying on his arms. He grunted, getting up. When his feet hit the ground, he felt himself lose his balance slightly and fall forwards, having to do everything he could to not fall. Up, up, arise and shine, Mina yelled, stumbling into his room. What? Katsuki screamed angrily. We're going to the beach in an hour. Get ready. She smiled. Katsuki rolled his eyes and walked over to his wardrobe to pick out an outfit for the day. Who's coming? He asked, still looking through his clothes. You, me, Kirishima, Tetsu, Denki, Eijiro, Midoriya, Yoraka, Todoroki, Momo, Hagakure, Sarah, Mineta. She replied, So, most of the class? Katsuki asked, pulling out a t-shirt to wear. She nodded and turned away from his room. I'll be going to get everyone else now, she said, ready to leave. Katsuki didn't respond. He continued looking for clothes and anything to bring. Ashido slammed the door shut behind her, walking away. Bakugo looked up. He saw he was now stood alone in the quiet room. Perfect. He searched through his belongings to find a flower crown for Eijiro. One he had made himself. It was made with red roses and white lilies, two of Eijiro's favorite flowers. He placed the flower crown onto a plastic bag, and then into his bag of belongings. And there were some clothes for after, a towel, snorkeling gear, and much more. He pulled open the large blue bag and walked away from his room. When Bakugo arrived in the living area of the dorms, he saw a few of his classmates chatting and waiting for others. Most of the girls were in dresses, skirts, or shorts, with shorts or crop tops. Most of the boys had normal short-sleeved shirts and shorts down to above their knees. Wowie! Mineta drawled, staring at Uchaka and Tetsu, who were next to Izuku and chatting. Izuku was in a tight pink tank top with short white skirt on, some sandals covering her feet. Tetsu was in a black crop top that had a small jacket over her arms, just in case. She was wearing a white skirt that went down to her knees. Izuku was wearing some denim shorts that went to the middle of his thighs and a short-sleeved yellow top. Hey, Grapes, Bakugo said, wanting to protect his classmates from the little idiot's graze. His head spun around to see Bakugo storming at him in anger. Why are we bringing this creep along when there's going to be girls in bikinis? Bakugo yelled curiously. It hit Izuku that he was staring at Ichako, and that he became overprotective, pulling her in close to him and wrapping his arms around her. Bakugo deep down felt happy for them. He never showed it, of course. It's Bakugo. Bakugo! Kirishima came running, wearing a navy blue button-up shirt that wasn't exactly buttoned up. He was wearing some light gray shorts and no more trainers. Bakugo's head spun around and his cheeks began to become flushed. He could see Eijiro's chest and he lost his balance. Ka-chan! Izuku yelled, letting go of Ochaka and rushing to his friend. Are you okay, Ka-chan? Izuku stared at the blonde's face, realizing what just happened. He saw Kirishima staring at Eijiro, his face red. Izuku wanted to be a good friend and not say anything, so he just helped Katsuki up onto the sofa and went back to his definitely not girlfriend. Eijiro arrived at the group, some of whom were wondering why Bakugo was on the sofa with his face in his hands and his elbows on his thighs, just above his knees. Bakugo, are you good there? Kirishima teased, sitting down next to the flustered blonde. Yeah, fine. Weird hair. Bakugo replied, not looking up so his red head next to him couldn't see his flushed cheeks. Wowie, Mina, Mineta said, staring at Mina as she walked in the living room. She was wearing a strapless yellow bikini top and a black jacket over her shoulders, and some gray shorts over her thighs. Look at me again, Mineta, and I'll burn you with my acid, Mina said, putting her fingers up in a peace sign and smiling. Mina was holding a white backpack over her shoulders. Now that everyone's here, Bakugo hadn't realized everyone was there, but she wasn't lying. During the time Bakugo was getting a hold of himself again, everyone had arrived in the living area. The bus ride was extremely hot and crazy. Bakugo sat with Izuku, Ochaka sat with Tetsu, Mina sat with Denki, Shiro was with Todoroki, Jiro was with Momo, Kirishima was with Hakure, Ojiro sat with Amare, Ida sat with Mineta. That was everyone that went. Gotchen, Izuku started looking over to Bakugo, who was leaning on his arms and staring out back at the front of him. Do you like Kirishima? Izuku asked. Bakugo slipped, his elbow slipping from his armrest, and his body went slightly forwards. When he pulled himself back up, his head went at such force he whacked off his chair. Really had to hurt. He slammed his hands down on the back of his head and leaned forward in pain. When he finally pulled his head back up slightly, looking over at Izuku, he was angered. What the hell? Nerd, no! He screamed, pulling his head up. Izuku knew he'd react like that. You do, he said, shocking. Oh my god. No, Deku, I'm straight. I like women. I not weird hair. Red idiots who are guys, Bakugo replied. Izuku squealed, really wanting Bakugo to tell Kirishima his feelings. Izuku knows now, Mina said, leaning over Bakugo's seat to look at him. Bakugo looked up and nodded. Since when did you know? Denki yelled quietly, coming over Izuku's chair. Finally, your best friend deserves to know, Tetsu said, peeking her head around the chair to look at Izuku and Bakugo. Ochaka was asleep next to her, head on the hot window. 4 people is too many to know, Bakugo whispered, falling into panic. What's going on over here? Can I help anger Bakugo? Jiro said lightly. When Tetsu calmed the angry and embarrassed and flustered Bakugo down, they got to talking. I still can't believe you're gay, Jiro giggled. Bakugo's what? Momo said. The head only heard part of that conversation. Forgot you were there, Jiro said nervously, trying to keep away from eye contact with Bakugo. 5. That's 5 people who know I like Kirishima. I didn't even want Denki to know, Bakugo screamed, not even keeping himself quiet this time. Why don't you just go blab to Sarah and Todoroki? They're close enough. Bakugo said sarcastically, pointing at the 2 who would sit just behind Momo and Jiro. That's cool. I always thought you 2 would be great together. Momo smiled, leaning over Jiro to look at the anchored blonde. Agreed, Mina said, putting her thumbs up. I hate everything about this, Bakugo replied. The sun beat down through the windows, making the whole bus heat up like a greenhouse. Izuku was talking to Ochaka, who had woke up now and was chatting with him through the gap between the seats. Can you imagine if we made out? Bakugo heard Mina say. Bakugo spit out water he was drinking all over Tetsu's chair. Why would you do that, Rabbit? Tetsu asked, turning around to look at Bakugo. Act fast, Bakugo whispered, keeping up his end of the bargain. Tetsu jumped up and rushed to Mina. Ashi, before she could finish, she tripped on her skirt and tumbled over Denki and fell onto Mina. I'm sorry, Rabbit. She apologized. It's fine, Froggy, Mina replied, giggling and petting Tetsu on the head. Tetsu felt her face heat up when she realized she had fallen on top of Ashido. She began to squirm in panic. Come here, Bakugo yelled, picking up Tetsu and holding on to her. You go, bro, Mineta yelled, trying to be Bakugo's friend. Shut up, Bakugo, not even caring about the fact that people thought Bakugo liked Tetsu, and was focusing on the fact that he called him bro. Bakugo finally put Tetsu down after almost falling over, grabbing onto the chair. You alright, Bakugo? Kirishima said, looking over at the seats. Kirishima and Hakure were right at the back of the bus. Bakugo shrugged and sat down, Izuku nervously staring at him. What did you do, Deku? Bakugo scoffed. Nothing, Ka-chan. Izuku giggled nervously. Bakugo rolled his eyes and sat down on a seat, trying not to let his emotions get the best of him. Bakugo. Bakugo remembered Kirishima running to him with his shirt half unbuttoned. He felt his face flush and heat up furly as he slapped his hand to his mouth, almost squealing. You all right there, Ka-chan? Izuku asked, not really concerned for the blonde, as he knew what was up. Bakugo's body tensed up, then it hit him. He's going to see Kirishima shirtless. He practically streamed. Imagining the redhead extremely hot best friend, he slammed his hand down on Tetsu's chair. Ka-chan! Izuku yelled, putting his arm around the flustered blonde. I'm going to see Kirishima shirtless, he muttered, losing control of himself. His full face was lit up red, and his heart was beating. Bakugo? Said a voice next to Bakugo, snapping him out of his trance. Kirishima, Bakugo muttered. Are you alright? Kirishima asked, putting his hand on the blonde's shoulder. Don't touch me, weird hair, Bakugo replied, shoving Kirishima's hands away, trying to look to the other side of him. Suddenly, before anything else happened, Kirishima was cuddled up into Bakugo, trying his best to fall asleep. Oh, so comfortable, Bakugo. We're almost there, idiot. Bakugo stuttered, trying not to look at Kirishima, his cheeks flushed. Izuku gently squealed and watched the tense Bakugo calm down, his eyes slowly closing. Oh, Chaco, look, Izuku said, shaking Uchaka's chair. She stood up over her chair and saw Kirishima cuddle into a sleeping Bakugo's chest, sleeping himself. Oh my god, Ochako whispered. Tetsu stood over her chair, as did Denki and Mina, Jiro and Momo, leaning over to look at the new two as well. Should we blurt out a secret? Jiro joked. Yomoro thought it was serious, and stood up. Bakugo's gay. Everyone stared at her, shocked, and then Bakugo and Kirishima. It was a joke! Jiro screamed, standing up as well. Everyone took to thinking that Jiro said Bakugo was gay as a joke, and not telling everyone it was a joke. Then went back to talking. Wake up, you two. Tetsu attempted to wake them up. Turns out they arrived at the beach and the two were still asleep. Great. Ka-chan, I need to get out, Izuku pleaded, trying to wake up his sleeping friend. Bakugo opened his eyes slowly and looked at Izuku, a look of murder in his eyes. Huh? Kirishima made a strange, cute little sound as he woke up. Looking at Katsuki, Bakugo's cheeks went slightly red. Can you let me out? Izuku begged. Katsuki rose his eyes and just stood up, picking Eijiro up and walking off the bus. Ka-chan, you forgot your bag. They headed off to the beach, embarrassment, Kirishima in Bakugo's hands. Bakugo, please put me down, Kirishima said, his legs wiggling around Bakugo's waist, hands around his neck, his head on his shoulder. He didn't want to fall. Mommy, those are the boys from the TV, some kid said, recognizing Kirishima and Bakugo from the sports festival. Bakugo dropped Kirishima on the sand, crossing his arms. Shoo. Ow! Kirishima yelled. Shut up, weird hair, Bakugo said, walking off to the changing area. You look really nice, Uchaka, the green-haired Ochaka simp said, trying not to look directly at Ochaka in her bikini. She is wearing a frilly, no-strapped pink bikini shirt with a simple pink bikini bottom. Izuku was in a simple blue swim shorts with some black hearts dotted around them. Denki stepped out and stretched his arms. Hey, idiot, Pikachu, you look good, Jiro teased, but really trying not to scream. Jiro was wearing a dark purple bikini with black music notes on top. Denki had yellow swimming pants and lightning bolts. Hey, why are you so red, Jiro? Denki teased. Jiro's face lit red with embarrassment. Blushing? None. She lied. waving her hands about, slowly walking off backwards. Does Shiro like me? Denki said nervously, turning to Bakugo, his cheeks slightly red. His large smile wasn't there anymore. His heart was barely even beating at his chest. Bakugo gulped and shrugged. He had only just left the changing room and was already had someone freaking out. Bakubro! Kirishima yelled, running down. Bakugo spun around to see the thing he was dreading to see. Kirishima, fully shirtless. Katsuki spun around fast and fell onto the ground. His hands were over his mouth. His face was as red as a rose. Ka-chan! Izuku yelled, running over to Bakugo. Bakugo was basically screaming, muffled by his hands. Bakubro? Kirishima walked over, saying very confused. I'm fine. Crappy hair. Bakugo stuttered, trying to stop freaking out. Kirishima leant down and grabbed Bakugo, trying to help him up. When Bakugo got up and stared at Kirishima, his eyes wide and his cheeks flushing. Kirishima smiled at Bakugo. I'm not even going to ask what just happened, he said, letting go of Bakugo's shoulders and walking off. Totally didn't look like you were going to kiss, Ochaka said, trying not to squeal. Being the OG Bakugo Kirishima shipper. What? Izuku! Bakugo yelled, walking over to Deku. You told her, didn't you? Sorry, Ka-chan, Izuku sobbed, trying not to look Bakugo directly in the eye. Don't you sorry me. No one was supposed to know, let alone your stupid girlfriend. Bakugo screamed, shaking Izuku. Know what? Todoroki asked. Bakugo glared loudly and stormed off. I'll tell you another time, Todoroki-kun, Izuku replied, walking away. Everyone had gotten changed and started setting up. Bakubro, want to put our towels next to each other? Kirishima said, standing next to Bakugo, who was set down on his towel. Whatever, crappy hair, Bakugo said, laying down. Kirishima began to lay on a shark pattern towel next to Bakugo, and lay down himself, beginning to stare at the blonde. Bakugo's eyes were shut, and he was breathing gently, sleeping peacefully. Kirishima bit his lip as he stared at Bakugo, and once he was fully asleep, he leant in, his lips pressed up against the blonde's cheeks, but before the redhead could cuddle up to the other male and close his eyes. Cute, Mina chuckled. Ochaka nodded quickly. The two OG Bakugo Kirishima shippers were fangirling at the two cuddling up. They look like sleeping angels, Momo said, joining in the fangirling. Yes, they do, Izuku continued, also apparently joining in the fangirling. Kirishima began to wrap his legs around Katsuki's legs, cuddling into him. That's when the blonde turned over and cuddled into Kirishima, now giving him the cuddles instead of just receiving them. Even in his sleep, he refused to be the little spoon. Damn, they're so close, Shiro laughed, eating an ice lolly. Then the top broke off and he went off to sulk. Hey, ice cream and strawberry sauce, Mineta yelled. Who gave you the damn right to give us nicknames? Bakugo yelled, waking up extremely fast, still holding on to the redhead. Kirishima slowly opened his eyes. Damn it, Bakugo thought to himself. He knew E wasn't getting enough sleep. So every second counted. Sorry, Bakugo whispered, running his hands through the redhead's hair. The group did end up deciding to go do something. They went for a good swim in the ocean. It's freezing, Izuku yelled, grabbing onto Ochaka as she screamed, and seaweed wrapped around her legs. She hugged him back, shaking the seaweed off her foot. You're both freaking weak, Katsuki yelled, running really deep into the ocean. Bakubro, wait for me, Kirishima yelled, ignoring the fact that he couldn't feel his feet from the cold and running after Bakugo. Catch me then, loser, he yelled in reply. Bakugo, realizing he needed to swim, was now swimming way too deep. The sleep-deprived Kirishima following him. Crap, Bakugo yelled. He went to swim back to Kirishima but wasn't fast enough. Kirishima began to splash around, noticing he didn't have enough energy to swim like this. Bakugo, Kirishima yelled. slipping underwater. He tried to keep his eyes open, but they burnt from the salt. His back hit off a rock, and he noticed blood floating upwards. He tried not to yell out, because if he did, salt water would fill his mouth, and he'd drown faster. He put his hands over his mouth and nose. "Bakugo, please," he thought to himself, struggling to keep consciousness. His eyes slowly closed as the silhouette of a spiked-haired teenage boy swam towards him. "Kirishima!" Bakugo screamed, tears filling his eyes as the redhead's face. Eijiro slowly opened his eyes to see Bakugo, the strong, angry Bakugo who hates everyone crying. Kirishima coughed up a little of water before taking in a deep breath. "Bakugo," he stammered, trying to catch his breath. Kirishima moved his hand to Bakugo's face to cup his cheek. Bakugo was on top of Kiri. He was giving him mouth to mouth. Yes, he felt like he was kissing him. Yes, he was blushing. "Thanks." Kirishima smiled, taking in as many deep breaths as he could. He gulped and moved his head back to stare at Bakugo's eyes. He kept smiling. He was always smiling. "Maybe we should give Kirishima some time to rest," Izuku said, walking over to the two. Bakugo wiped his eyes and stood up. "Whatever, he's an idiot anyway," he gulped. "An idiot for almost dying and not letting me tell him how much I loved him." Hours passed. After 1.5 Kirishima began to swim again with the others. "Shoto, I'm sorry," Momo yelled, hugging onto Shoto. She had fell into his arms. They were now sort of hanging. "More ships!" Ochaka and Mina yelled in unison. "What about this?" Tetsu yelled, shoving Ochaka into Izuku. Deku yelled, his cheeks going red. Ochaka giggled and leaned up, closer to his face. Mina and Tetsu clapped and squealed, enjoying the couple's moments happening everywhere. "Kirishima," Bakugo said, walking over to Kirishima. He was going to confess. He was really going to do it. He took a deep breath, getting ready to talk. "Hi," a black-haired girl said, sitting down next to Kirishima. Bakugo shut himself up. "Hi," Kirishima grinned. "I'm Amy." The girl smiled back at Kirishima. He replied, holding out his hand. "I'm Amy," the girl smiled back. "Kirishima," he replied, holding out his hand. The two chatted a little before a simple, innocent chat became turned into flirts. Kirishima didn't even realize what she was saying. "I guess I'll go," Bakugo muttered, standing angrily. He stood up, looking back, noticing his heart was stopping. She pushed at him, and he was trying to push her away. "Come on, Kirishima, kiss me," she flirted. "Get off me," Kirishima yelled. Amy's hook was stiff. She could make people unable to fight her off. Basically, it was pretty powerful. "Get off him," Bakugo yelled, grabbing her from behind and pulling away. "Someone help! This crazy boy is trying to kill me!" she yelled, trying to look vulnerable. Izuku looked back to see a scared Kirishima and an angry Bakugo holding a ticked-off girl. "Kachin, let her go!" Izuku yelled, running over. Kirishima jumped up and ran to Bakugo. Bakugo flung Amy away, and Kirishima hugged Bakugo from behind, hiding his face. "Don't touch what's not yours," Bakugo said angrily, holding Kirishima behind him. "So much has happened, and it's just 2 p.m. Maybe we should go back now," Mina said. Everyone agreed, and it was true. It was getting later, and a lot had happened. They needed to go back now. Everyone got dried, packed up, and changed. They then all headed off to a cafe to get some food. And the beach day was over, but the day out was not. End of chapter 10.